Yesterday, what feast was on the calendar? What saint was celebrated on yesterday's liturgical calendar? Nancy knows. She was here. Saint Athanasius. Wow! And you guys missed it. Saint Athanasius. Did you? Is he your favorite saint? Give me a wave if he's your favorite saint. Athanasius. Oh, you're ready. He's ready. Okay, good. Athanasius. So there's something in the prayer book about Saint Athanasius. Did you go over that last week? I wasn't here to hear it. In the BCP review? He did? In the historic documents. All right. Athanasius, his name's associated with a creed. It's not really it's not like a school song or anything. This creed goes over and over and over. And we have an abbreviated version in the prayer book. It goes over and over and over what it means to believe in the true nature of the Trinity. And particularly that God is of one substance, known in three persons. And it was really important in the 4th century that this be clarified, because there was a guy named Arius who was running around the Mediterranean, and he was saying that the Christ was actually a created being, that God had created the Christ, and so they were not the same. It was like the person was of a different substance, and so this spun around. Believe it or not, in the 4th century, 300s, right? When Athanasius was bishop, he was bishop for 47 years in Alexandria. And long time, right? He fought with 4 emperors, right? Because there was the Holy Roman Empire, or whatever it was called, based in Constantinople. He fought with 4 emperors. He was exiled from his bishopric 5 times. He went into exile. This was not a gentle, sort of meek man. This was a man who was prone to violence in order to assert the holy and undivided nature of the Trinity. What? You will believe. And he fought it out in the councils of the church. So the Nicene Creed, he was there. And then for the councils of the church beyond that, where they were really defining what is orthodoxy. In fact, he lived at a time when they didn't have the New Testament yet. So he's the one who created the list. He sort of, he proposed what the books would be in the New Testament. And it was right. It came to be that they came around that. So very, very powerful person. And then yesterday was also a day to remember another saint, Julia Chester Emery. How many of you have her as your favorite saint? You've heard of her? Oh yeah, but not your favorite saint. Okay. Well, then January 2nd, I think, is her day. But we were remembering her because she is the person who really encouraged the modern ECW, Episcopal Church women. And she lived from Gail's heard all this. She lived from 1852 to 1922 or thereabouts. And so she lived through the emancipation of women in this country. She lived to see the 19th Amendment. And in 1920, that was passed, and then she died 2 years later. So she lived through a turbulent time, and she, by her life, not the violence of St. Athanasius, but by her life, she really encouraged the full recognition of the equality of men and women in the country and in the church. She saw the first deaconess ordained. So why all this? Because one, I researched it all for yesterday's sermon. So I'm recycling. There was one group here. There's only a couple of you that were here. But also, it does tie in with what we were hearing today. Because there is this one vine, and from it come many branches. And there are many saints in the church, and I'm looking at a group of them here, but we all have different expressions, right, in terms of what it is that Christ inspires in our lives. And the character of that, the personality of that varies. the violence of a St. Athanasius, and then the gentle, consistent work of Julia Chester Emery, it brings good. Something happens through a life that is passionately engaged and has this sense of a loving call, a loving commitment, and a consistent sort of participation in the life of the church. So, and I think somehow that's needing to be upheld in terms of what it means actually to be in the life of the church, to be part of this sort of voluntary association. And there are some things that happen through this that are really important in terms of what evolves in our culture and our society. Because if you sort of fall in to a church, you end up associating with people that you would never have selected in to your house party. Right? I mean, you just wouldn't know to even invite. And you end up loving, sometimes just sort of falling in love, if you can do that with, in your heart, with people that you never would have thought would have been appearing before you. And only appear before you because you come to church. It's an incredible thing, really, if you think about it. And where else does that happen? Where there's this commitment to just walking the walk, being with people over time who are your family, are your friends, are your lovers, the beloved, by the causality of just being baptized and brought into the church. And I think that's what John is talking about in his letter, is the nature of being called into the church is that we love one another. Beloved, let us love one another. For love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Well, we don't know God perfectly, and we don't love perfectly, but this is the spot, in one of the spots, if not the spot, where that love is sort of brought into perfection, where we get the opportunity to rub up against each other and really explore what is in my heart. Why do I react the way I do? Why do I open to this person and not to this one? What's going on with me? And who am I? Where am I in my life? What is it that God, you're calling me to do? How am I to be a loving participant in this community? What's going on? That's not bad questions. Those are the questions of what it means to be in a church and to be more broadly in life. Jan teaches a course, and some of you have taken it, about passionate purpose, sort of tuning in. What is it that my heart is calling me to do and to be? And what is there about God that's important? Do you know how many people don't have access to their hearts? I mean, how many of us have full access to our hearts? But if you ask someone to say, well, who are you? Most generally they'll go, well, I am. Did you see what happened? I am. Where do they go? They go, I am, like I think. It's what do you know in your heart of hearts about who you are? It's where that work is done. It's heart work. And the church really calls us together for that heart work. And we do a lot of things that are sort of scripted. But the subtext and the main thing, the basso continuo under the melody, is this work of love. This working it out. Where is really going on in my heart of hearts? What is God doing there? What am I knowing about what I'm called to do and to be in the world? So when a survey, and this gets out in the Episcopal Church, this sort of idea that John was addressing in his letter about God as love. Because when Episcopalians were invited into this, I'm smiling because I'm not going to get the language right, into some sort of, what is it called? Frenzy? What was it called?
Crowdsourcing.
Crowdsourcing, okay. When they were called through Facebook to crowdsourcing and to sort of put one word out there that they associate with the Episcopal Church. And they couldn't put Jesus. That was off the boards. We know Jesus is part of the Episcopal Church, and if we just had that word available, that would be the word that would come up most. So we know that. So under that, under that umbrella that it's all about living into the life of Christ, what is it that you associate first? What's the word that you have when you think about what it means to be part of the Episcopal Church. And this poster is the result. What can you read from your seat? Right? I mean, a lot of other things. But the size of a letter has to do with the number of times it was named. Okay? It's not because somebody edited it and said, well, I think love should be the biggest. It's because from all the people that participated, the thousands of people that participated, the word that was used the most in terms of what it means to be part of the Episcopal Church, love. And all sorts of other things came, close second. I don't know. And you can read that from here. But up here, I can read Psalter, mystery, honesty. It's all in here. I mean, there are lots of things. The vine has lots of fruit. But the essential, the essence of the vine that is known through its fruit, what it means to be in the communion of saints in church, is love. That's what comes through. I mean, you keep hearing it, don't you? Hear? Unconditional love. It's there. That's what we're about. That's what God offers us, and we're invited to inquire into how do we participate in that. What does it mean for my life that God's unconditional love is appearing here in this location? Your heart, your location, my heart, my location. And what expression will it have? Well, if Julia Chester Emery is out there in some way in the scale. Philip, did you see what happened to him and the living out of his life? Translated all over the wilderness and just popping up here and there and baptizing people. Well, that was his expression. And then Athanasius doing battle for truth. Well, there's also other things too, right? And you're already living it. But to honor that God is living out God's life in you. Because you're rooted in the vine from which it all comes. You're an expression of God's life, a unique expression of God's life in the world. And that's a work of your heart. It's nothing you're going to figure out. It's something you're going to feel into, have been feeling into. It's where it all registers. It's where you know. Oh, I am loved and I am love. And that is something that we help each other to know. That you're loved, Annie. And you are loved. It's something that happens here. And it's the subtext. It maybe isn't that we say it all the time, but it's something that is the reason for what we do. Or else, as it says in Corinthians, it's just noise. But see, what's felt here is something that's not just noise. It's because it's being lived out from the heart. And if we keep coming back, it just gets purer and purer, becomes like liquid gold. So stay in there for the liquid gold. That's what's being offered at the table, is the precious purity of God's unconditional love, realized and expressed in your individual locations. Amen.
Amen.